Hello, everyone. Welcome to ICT Hub. It is our great pleasure to have wonderful guests here with us tonight. We are always trying to provide new added value for you who are actually entrepreneurs and doing something exciting with your entrepreneurial ventures, and then a value for the startup ecosystem itself. So I would like to welcome our guests coming from Estonia. And they're basically here because they want to introduce more to you how is to grow and build your business there, how is different in Estonia compared to Serbia and what they've learned in the past 2 days. And actually for us to look forward how we can become more entrepreneurial environment. So here with us tonight we have Ragnar Sas. He's a co-founder of Pipedrive, probably familiar startup to here all of us. He's also co-founder of Garage 48 and Lift 99, and he will tell us more about what they do, what actually, how those initiatives and ventures became. And also we have Marika Tru. She's a head of Startup Estonia initiative. Marilyn Luke, head actually project manager for Startup Estonia visa program. And Mik Vajnik, he's a startup policy expert at the Ministry of Economy. So first of all, I will not waste any more of your time talking. We will have Ragnar actually telling you a bit more about his beginning, his entrepreneurial ventures, what it was like to build Pipedrive, and then initiatives he is involved right now. Later on, we will tell more about Startup Estonia initiative and Startup Estonia visa program. And if you have any questions regarding how government is involved and how they're helping improve business environment, we can jump in with answering all of your questions. Ragnar is looking very busy, but he's like very listening to us. So Ragnar, welcome and thank you for your time and sharing all of your experience with us here tonight.
Thank you. Okay, so hello. Yeah, I'm Ragnar Sas. I am basically first time in Serbia, by the way. So I just arrived today, and so I'm here to share maybe my experience and the things which for me seems very valuable, or which maybe people can learn from my own mistakes and so on. And yeah, sorry to being a little bit busy because today was the day about one news, but I will tell a little bit later. So just very shortly who I am, that I have been coding myself very many years ago, but then moved to the marketing and managing the teams. So I also basically worked long time before switching totally to startup sector in news media, working in newspapers, in radio, launched TV channel, but then find my ways that no, I want to be entrepreneur. I'm just refusing to work for someone else. I was maybe very bad employee and I was not good for my boss. So anyway, I decided to be an entrepreneur. So, and my first startup, by the way, failed. So, my first startup was about having like a Facebook for dogs and cats. It's still a great idea. Like I'm very sure, like how many people here love dogs? Please raise hands. You see, almost like a half. How many cats? A little bit less. But you know, in Europe, every second household have at least dog or cat. Huge market. But we made a great product, but we failed basically. Monetize that, so I started my other things. 2010, I started Pipedrive. How many Pipedrive users we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice, thank you guys. Because like really, like I have been lucky to meet so many of our users worldwide. I'm so happy that we have made something that people use and like and so on. I also started at the same time Garage 48, which is non-profit, which we have done hackathons, which I heavily love. Which basically like you go for the weekend and you start from the zero. You start from the idea and you will basically build like from the idea prototype. And lately I have been more focusing building new thing, which is Lift 99, which is basically my way how to give back to community and build a founder skill sharing platform which would focus exactly Central Eastern Europe. And I have also done already some angel investments, investing my own money to the younger generation of founders. And why I was a little bit busy was this news. This was published just basically 2 hours ago. So Pipedrive today announced that we made 50 million round, which is a great thing to have. I would say this is not what you usually build your company, but somehow people are always addicted about funding news. So we today announced that news, and but we have been much more focused building company and products and fundraising money, but still, thank you. So most important, I'm the dog lover, indeed. This is my dog. So I think that it's amazing that there is a dog who has been in 3 startups, basically. United Dogs, Pipedrive, and Lift 99 now. So he pretty much can also say that he's like Garage 48 co-founder. So he has met like 2 Estonian presidents. He has met the Estonian prime minister. So yeah, he's really very famous, like maybe even more famous than me already. So in Estonia. Let me see. So this is the Pipedrive founders, which we started 2010. And you know, every company story starts with the founders. And actually, this is real guy. He's not only in computer, he exists also like real life. So this is not done by AI or whatever. But we was extremely lucky that we had a very good founding team. And you know, the founders is something that you can never change later on. And this is something which so many times predicts would you make company successful or not. And the backstory is that every failure you should take as a learning. And in my case, you guys, 2 Martins, basically this is Martin and this is Martin, they was together with me in United Dogs. So we was going through the wire, so we was really seeing the bad days and good days. We learned so many things, and we failed with the first company. Back in 2010, like when my first company failed, I basically had my own article in newspaper which says that I'm the biggest failure of Estonian history. Pretty much like that. I wasn't happy. I needed to call my mom and said, please don't read it, because you can imagine how much parents like. And back in 2010, there was no fake news. Everything what is in paper is the real truth, you know. So I had that experience, which wasn't too good, but I have been much more successful with my next venture. So the one thing which I have learned in my startup life is that you have to accept that you do mistakes every day. And you have to just be still very brave to doing them, because there is no any other way how to learn. So if you're building company, if you're building world-changing startup, you need to be out of your comfort zone every day. And you do things that no one else has done. Like in 2010, we started company, and we was in 2011 in Silicon Valley. And people looked at us like a crazy, like how you can build CRM, which is going to compete with Salesforce and Microsoft. It's impossible. But you know, we didn't know too much about them. We were just naive, you know, we dreamed a lot. And you know, this has helped us, because if you're a founder, you need to do things differently. You need to believe things which is impossible. And your daily job is proves that others are wrong. Not your team, but others who don't believe into you. So, and this is where we are today. Like basically, Pipedrive has today 400 people. Okay, actually, funding is already old. It's not anymore true. Pipedrive has 70,000 paid companies worldwide. I have met like 1,000 clients personally in Brasilia, in Romania, in Ukraine, in US, and so on. And yeah, we have now biggest office still in Tallinn, Estonia. This is where we started. Official HQ in New York. Fastest growing office in Portugal, Lisbon, and in London as well now. And yeah, it's not only that we have won titles in Europe, we have also won title in even US, so we grew pretty fast. So we won title already 3 years ago that we are the best B2B company in Europe. done, which was announced by TechCrunch in Europe. And I will show you one video if it will. No, it will not show. Okay, anyway. So, and you know, just it's not important, but we are building now our own house in Estonia because we can't fit anymore. We have 2 locations now, and just we needed to. We are not owning that, but basically we will be the first startup which has even this sign on the tower. So it's very funny because we never imagined that, you know. It's always like those guys like Oracle or whatever have it. So, but if I go back to the early days, then the key element, one of the key elements is really culture in your company. And you as a founder is setting up the culture. But one moment you need to make rules and understand like what is the values, what connects those people, and how you can do great hires. Because it all starts with the founders, but you need to be sure how you hire people which is delivering same culture and same values. So this is our official values, which we have been using as often as possible. Mainly if you look potential people who would join us, but also if we feel something has been wrong and maybe we need to separate. And the key is also that founders are still heavily involved in hiring. Basically, every single person cannot join company without having at least 2 meetings with founders. Official is the last interview is with Timo, who is Pipedrive CEO. And many times I involved Martin Henk and Martin Tajur. So because the people is your biggest asset and value. And this is how we have run the company, and this is which we feel is saying who we are and where we are going. So the one thing is, which is very interesting, is that even in Estonia, we have been building super international team. We have people from 40 countries in Tallinn office. Thanks to government, thanks to StartUp Estonia and other things, it's pretty easy to hire people. You mean not hire, but legally to relocate them to Estonia. And surprisingly, people relocating to tiny Estonia, which is extremely freezing in winter. You know, we have real like winter -20 sometimes, less and less actually. But and many times it's just like 5 months raining, you know, from October to March, but sometimes snow. So we have people relocating from Brazil to Estonia, and this is mind-blowing. Or like South Africa, or like Dominican, or Uruguay, and so on. So, and yeah, the diversity is really strengths one of the strengths what we have in team. We have also like very many women in the team, and not only like say the department leads and so on, because this diversity is how you can really discuss the things and see different opinions and hopefully make the best decisions. So, and in IT, it's very important that you have always also more and more women in the team, you know, which is otherwise you might do things wrongly and on one moment realize that. Yeah, and because of that, we have also received basically the titles that we are best private company work. And how this was done is that, say, basically shortlisted 100 companies. Say first like talked with people who work in company, but they also talked with people who have left from the company. Because every human who works in your company will be your ambassador later on. And how you offboard your people, how you treat them, is extremely important. Because if you fire someone and if you don't still respect this person, your image will be broken. And in Estonia, there are real hunt for the talent. So I think that many people sometimes miss one important thing, that you put effort to find someone, and maybe you put some effort to onboarding them. But offboarding is also very important. Whatever happens, if you need to fire someone, this is you as a manager fault. Because in first day you hired this person. You had some hopes and expectations and so on. Whatever happens, the biggest trauma is still for the human, not for the company. Indeed, you need to show that you need to hire a new one, blah, 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 but still, in personal level, you need to be sure that you do those things right. If you do, your company is very strong. So, you know, the one thing which is also important, which I feel in Europe we sometimes miss, that startup is all about speed. The bigger you are, the harder it's being fast. And the only way how you can compete with Silicon Valley, you need to be fast everywhere. So because startup is a company which is designed, growing every week. This is how, like this is the only, like I would say, definition which I would say is telling something about startup. So in our case, in our ITs, every team is independent, they have their own product, they basically focus just delivering it, and they are pretty independent. Indeed, we need to do this or that, your goal is there, but how you go this way, it's your own decision. So this is how we run engineering. If I go back, actually, the main thing how you start your company is that you need to have extremely good understanding what is actual problem that you're solving. Who is your potential user? Basically, somebody has problem, would they hire you to solve it? And do you really know everything about their end user? In Pipedrive is B2B company. We are building sales management system. In our case, end user is not the company, not the manager, but the sales guy. So we have been basically designing everything to make this exact person successful. That's all our promise. And this is where we basically, this was 2010 when we started the company, when we pretty much analyzed what is the real problem in the CRM market. Because every company, I assume, has some kind of sale. Okay, so there are some companies who receive orders, but usually you need to have salespeople who are selling and so on. The challenge is that many CRMs or many business software is too complicated. You will be lost and you hate that shit, basically. That's the real word what people are using, you know. And that's the thing. If people don't use software, how it can help you? Zero. It cannot. So this is our challenge. I still don't, okay. So, I hope it's next slide. Yeah. So basically, before you start to build something, you need to really understand what is the problem, and you need to have deep understanding about client frustration and so on. And what is those small details what making them unhappy. And in Pipedrive DNA, this is our DNA, to understand client needs. So every single human in Pipedrive company have to understand why we're building this product and who is our users. This was our first version. We launched this 2 months after we started programming this in June 2010. And this is how looked our product in 2010, end of July, 2 months. So we basically, our mission and core idea is that how we can design CRM or sales management system, which is so easy to use that you don't need training. You just log in, look 2-minute video, and start to use it. That's it. That's our mission. That's what we do. And we are basically visualizing your important sales information by pipeline. And this is how we started. This is what we have today. The main view is pretty similar. We have built so many things under the hood, but still key thing is how we can help salespeople to being more successful in the life where they are. And you know, sales is different. You use mobile phone, there are more and more integrations, but mission is still the same. So the one thing why I feel we have been so successful is that we are using our product very actively. If someone joins company, they will do 2 weeks of customer support. I mean, every single person. Are you accountant? Are you engineer? Are you a marketing person? You basically will fly to Estonia in your first 2 weeks and will start basically first 2-3 days learning about the product and then spending 2 weeks in support. Because support actually faces real problems. You will team up with, indeed, customer support people that we want to be sure that our support is in the highest level. And we still do mistakes, sadly. But then you would learn and understand what's the pain points and so on. You cannot go company without going through with that. And not only that, we have done even we did 4 years ago in our summer days, basically that we teamed up. We had 2 or 3 people teams. Everybody needed to sell books on the street. Oh my God, people hated that. And let me give you a secret, sales is tough. There are very few people who said, we love it, we love the sales, we love to get no's. Yeah, right? Who loves to get no's? So sales is tough. But the only way how to understand this is just testing it out. And yeah, if you build it, the next moment, which is sometimes so hard, is you need to measure it. You need to understand what is good or bad and so on. You need to know those KPI and numbers. And basically, I will give you an example. This was our main base 2011 in August. I believe we did very good design. This looks like a Porsche dashboard, as many people have told us. Who doesn't want to be driving with Porsche, So this was the base what we had, and we were so happy about that. And this is what we basically changed. We changed from this to that. It took us only exactly 6-pack of pairs to make that change, It's not so actually difficult to remove things. So what do you predict what happened? Any guess? Had conversion go up and down? And how much? 3 times, 300%. 3 times of us growing conversion when we basically had only 2 things almost. This is for American people. Start free trial because they want to use immediately. Show me the product, I want to use it. And there is somewhere learn more. I don't even see it. Under it, yeah, learn more. This is for Germans. Because they want to go and look, especially now, what is your data thing, all of those privacy policies and so on. That's actually how it happens, by the way. So this is just one example which we have done, So if you're not testing, you're not learning. Continuously, sadly, you need to test all the time because environment is changing. Many things what we did back in 2011, 12, 13 is not working anymore today because the time is different. So in our case, we have 70,000 clients. And this gives us huge amount of data. We can tell you one thing. French sales guys having the longest lunch. Isn't it? Wine, and taking really good. But what people are missing is that after that long lunch, they are in top with actually executing. I don't know, is it wine? Wine, okay, most likely wine. But they actually with huge speed closing deals and doing things, So maybe they are smarter in that they balance their life really right way. And yeah, basically, our product is same in everywhere. The same pipe drive is in Brazil, in Romania, in Estonia, US, Serbia, name it. But we have to do marketing differently. We have to tell telling stories and so on. Sometimes the copy is different because some jokes which works in US doesn't work in Brazil and so on. So you need to understand still some local differences.
One question to continue. For French people, you have a user interface. Sorry. For French, you have user interface in English or in French?
No, like, how many times you have been in Paris?
5 times.
How many times you can go in the cafe and just speak without problem like English?
None.
Exactly. So it's we have 14 languages.
Okay.
So and this is how we are different. Many people in Silicon Valley know one thing. It's US, let's do it. English, done. We are from tiny country. We have to learn language in whatever first grade or even in kindergarten, because our tribe language is spoken only by 1 million people. So we basically launched, yes, we have still Estonian language, but our main language was always English. And then we started to add other languages. Then it was Portuguese, and we are the biggest CRM in Brazil. Then we added French, German, and so on. So yes, in Paris, people use our system in French language. But same time, surprising fact, in Netherlands, we have Dutch language, but only a tiny part of people actually use Dutch language there. It's because everybody speaks English. Yeah. So every culture has different things. And even in Estonia, majority of users use still English because it's so unusual to use software in local language. I am like almost, oh my God, like how I can go and find it, But for the French cultural thing, we are proud of our language. You should learn our language, not opposite side.
Thanks.
So this is the guy who is analyzing our data, the right one. He's very engaged, as you can see. He's very engaged. The left one is a support guy, so they are very like doing things together. They are coming into you if you do something unusual. So the key element why we have those people is that we also analyze that if someone sign up, how we can make this person understand product more like faster. So we pretty much found out that in our world, key thing is that if someone would add new deal, if you do that, prediction is growing like 3 times that you will be our paid user. Because all our system is built around your deal management. So that we are visualizing data, and we want to put you basically on the face what's the most important deals you have now active, and what should you do next. But this is just one element. So there's so many things which you can analyze and look and then decide how you can go. And one more time, so we have many languages. Still 70% is in English used. As I said, because of many things like Netherlands using us in English and so on. But I believe that this is how usually startups from Eastern Europe can be more successful. It's just trying to find those areas or sectors where you can go and compete with Silicon Valley guys. Going to US immediately is great because you can get best feedback, but you still need to find your niche, whatever country and so on. In my first startup, my biggest mistake was I stayed too long in Estonia. And Estonian experience doesn't scale to the worldwide. People are like demanding too much and so on. So in PipeDrive, our first paid company was, yes, from Estonia, but second was from Boston. And we listened very carefully what US clients was telling us, and we designed many things by US clients' feedback. And usually US clients are much easier to give you money, because if you help them, they immediately giving you money. Same time, clients from India, oh my God, it's so expensive, they're just complaining all the time. Because because we have the same pricing everywhere. And we have so far decided not to change it, maybe in the future, and maybe it's on the progress now. But again, so global market is fun, You can just see so many different things. So this is how we started measuring our success. This was basically, as you can see, we had basically, as soon as someone was paying us money, we had cling cling. So this was the boombox playing some cool music, like from the movie of Rocky. Just we did it. And then this was like basically how much they paid. This was this month's salary. Luckily for us, these things was so, it lasted only like months or two because it was too much noise already in the office. So our revenue started to grow. And this is one version what we basically did one moment that all this data was public inside the company, who is paying, all of that fancy numbers and so on. And you can imagine what happens now. We have 75,000 paid companies. One moment is like growing crazy now. So one interesting thing, like we are IT company, and we have 5 founders. Out of that 5, 2 are engineers, 2 are sales guys, and I'm the guy who basically was in the middle of like IT and marketing and sales. But to build the product for the sales guys, we hired this guy. He was our first product manager. And he never did anything in IT. He was like, oh my God, like, but good thing, he saw things so differently. And he helped us really to design this thing in a different way. And our mission is making sales guys happy using our product and being more successful. So sometimes you have to do very, very like differently. So the many times I think that the trap what many startups are going is that people are demanding so many things from you. You have basically whatever like Opel Astra, but they demand you already like Cadillac. So that's a usual problem. And what you need to learn is that if people are asking new features, is what is actually their problem. Can they use your product differently without you adding all the time features? Because if you will go to the war and will say, we are the product which has the highest number of features, then this is the war, but you can never take as a startup. In the first 3 years, we had many this kind of analysts, and there was like CRMs, which was we was the lowest because they ranked companies how many features they have. But if we ranked how happy was people, we was always top. So the challenge what you have as a startup founder is how to build easy product. And our mission is always like, like how many times you have reading like Facebook manual, how to use Facebook? Like never. Why is still not the same with business software? Business software should be similar way. You just download, you say, I like it, I love it, and you're using it. So that's the aim. So how you can solve problems sometimes without just coding too much. So why I love hackathon is that actually Pipedrive we started building our product in the hackathons. After my first company failed, I needed to go back to work. It's just, I didn't have money anymore. I was broke. I was the biggest failure of Estonian history. So it's like, when Brazil lost like 7-1 to Germany. This is the same feeling which I had. Because you guys are very like big in soccer. Estonia has won one time, Serbia. I know that. It was the big news in Estonia because we have only 2 great victories, Russia and Serbia. We have lost everyone, Luxembourg, Liechtenstein, whatever, Monaco, and whatever, this Gibraltar or whatever, or like small city in Norway. So, but we have 2 victories only, and this happened many years ago. So anyway, but as I needed to work, daytime with my company, which was doing some helping social media, and we basically had weekends free. And we basically rented like cottage. Actually, we didn't rent because we didn't have money. We pretty much like just crashed in some founder like cottage on the countryside, and just started Friday, and was rapidly like working until Sunday evening. We didn't have any sleep almost. We discovered that you need to sleep because you're more effective. We also discovered that if you drink few beers, you are not effective. So, but this is how we basically advanced the product every week. Not every week, sadly, we had families, and those guys wanted also some like time, Oh my God, yeah. So, so that's why but we built our like product in the first year by hackathons and evenings and weekends and so on. So that's why I love hackathons. It's just you go focus, and I was just thinking that what I have learned from my dog. So because my dog is legendary startup founder, I have learned many things. First, focus. My dog is hunting dog. He hunts, he don't even listen anything. He just goes. He just hears the smell and he's just going, whatever, Everything is switched off. We had the same rule in hackathons. No Slack, no Instagram, actually Instagram was not even around. So no Facebook. Slack easier. But anyway, we switched off everything. Just extremely focused on doing the thing. The next thing which I actually learned from my dog is that routine is good. Because dogs love routine. Say it's just, like, if you give them different food, they're like, what is that? I don't want a different food. I want the same food as yesterday. If you want to be productive, actually routine is also good. Like, you just build the routine and go for that. But anyway, I will not talk about my dogs anymore. Yeah, there are more things. The one more thing is that, which is super important, I have never seen my dog in bad mood. Like, literally zero. He's always happy, especially when he sees me. That's why his official title was Chief Happiness Officer. Because his mission was making people happy. And it's easy. You give me meat, I'm very happy. It's very honest, and So, just, three small things, but pretty much like different in my life, So, okay, important thing. Like, your mission, if you build company, is making people happy. That's it. If they are salespeople, they have to be more happy, they have to be more effective. If they are building whatever thing, the same thing. And if you are good in that, they will give back to you. This is example, like, I believe we are still the most highest rated CRM app in Apple and also in Google Play. Let me give you a hint. Actually, in first 6 months, I was the guy who was contacting every client very kindly. Said, are you liking us? How it goes? And if things was good, I asked, can you make me a favor? Can you go and write about us, sir? I basically much binged every client, and you should not use MailChimp. You should really just take Mailbox and send email, or even better, call your client and say, hello, I'm the founder of the company. And believe me, if founder of the company calls or shows up, people are like, really? So you are the guy who's starting the company, wow. And they actually so open to basically give you feedback, and also, if they like your product, they are like, oh yeah, absolutely. Just, what should I write? Like, you can help them if you want, but you shouldn't do it too much. But this is how we very much started to being more successful, because we built that first great relation with clients, and they started help us so that we can grow. In first 6 years, half of our clients found us because existing clients refer us. Because existing clients was recommending us. This was so powerful that because in CRM it's easy. If you want to have CRM, you just go and ask the friends, you put in Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and some people reply, I like Pipedrive. So this is how really we got the traction. We was putting much more money into product than into marketing on sales. And even today, I think that the most surprising fact about Pipedrive, I believe it's still true because it's changing so fast, is that Pipedrive, which is building sales management tool, we don't have sales team, outbound sales team. We have inbound sales who helps you, but we don't call clients and say, start to use us. We are putting huge effort to marketing so that people should know about us, but we don't sell the product, which is surprising. Because our clients are small. Our usual clients is small company, and we basically help them to move from Excel to CRM, or paper and pen, or your mailbox. This is all the things that are used by the people. The challenge is that if you grow, the things is not scaling, You hire a new salesperson, okay, and your sales database is in the paper. It's impossible. So that's how we actually started to grow. If we do things right, this is what happens. As far as I know, it's unusual that people telling I love business product, You can tell I love Instagram, I love Snapchat, I love those other things, which is cool, But this was one guy which used us few months, and this is how he was just writing this blog post itself. We didn't push him. But there has been one moment we looked our data and realized that one blog post in Brazil was giving us 400 clients. One blog post. Because everybody was eating it, wow, and it was so real. that's really well written. It's not by us. I don't know, can you copy it now? But this is the examples that this, if your product is good, some people actually telling that. Okay, and good story for the maybe especially for the ladies in the house. So if you build your product very good, some people will find very creative ways how to use it. And this is real, guys. One moment back in 2013, I think so, or 12, one girl was tweeting out the way how she used Pipedrive. She lived in New York. She had a small problem. She was dating, and she wanted to find a boyfriend. And she used Pipedrive for handling so many Pipedrive candidates. So let me see how he did it. The first stage is she has idea. She has 2 guys on that stage. The next is flirting already, you know, that's progress. 2 guys on that stage. Dating to discover. I don't know what that means, but maybe after like flirting, they want to actually meet, you know. And look at now, 4th stage, sexual compatibility, yes. It seems for me very early, but that's me. And then actually, they will share relationship desires. And then they have some talks and negotiations, and then close deal. So, you know, actually, yeah.
How many times she closed?
That's really good. You know, sadly, we cannot like share our private information about the clients. But I can share you one thing. We approached her like a few weeks later and asked that maybe you are ready to share this information. And she said, you know, I love Pipedrive. My deal is closed. I'm deleting account. Thank you. So she found a boyfriend using Pipedrive. And you know, actually last year or 2 years ago, we made the 1st April news that we have integration with Tinder. So that you can like basically import your data to Pipedrive and your matches, and then you can pretty much like move on from here. But it was a joke. So anyway, but again, why this is great? That first of all, it gives you stories to tell, but it most likely tells you that your product has done something right if people are using it even unusual cases. For just, you know, like, and actually a real problem, you know, isn't it? Maybe you don't have it now, but the girl in New York had too many boys wanted to date with her, you know, and she needed software for that. Too many candidates, you know. Maybe you have like less, but there. So I will now talk a little bit about Estonia because we have other people also who want to tell the stories. This is what I do now more and more often. This is Lift 99. Which we have basically built at physical founder center in Tallinn. But most importantly, we are building a community and a skill sharing platform. And we just recently kind of still like polishing the thing, but this is pretty much what we do in Estonia now, helping next rockets to take off. And if I look now data about Estonia, that this is how much Estonian startups has fundraised. And what is amazing is that today is 14th of June. And already today, how much we have fundraised is almost same level as 2017. So in Estonia has happened like huge boom now. Like there are many levels indeed. We had Skype. Even in Pipedrive was one, like Martin was working in Skype before and after United Talks. Pretty much my co-founder was in Skype. He joined United Talks, then it failed. Then Skype was saying, yeah, you can go back. And then he left again to doing Pipedrive. And this was great with Skype because Skype basically helped to do the biggest thing in Estonia. People started to believe. Because every single person knows someone from childhood or from neighbor and so on, someone who worked in Skype. People was like, oh my God. This guy who was the most like shy person in whatever my high school is now like zillionaire or whatever. If he did it, why I can't do it? But you know, this is really your own decision. So Skype helped Estonia to believe and started to go and fail. Because the only way how you can be successful is first failing and learning. Because if you believe that you can do from here next Facebook, Instagrams, and the chances are 1 out of 10 million, but you still have chance, by the way. It's more likely that you would go and fail, and one moment your whatever second or third or fourth try is successful. So, and in Estonia, what has happened is that, yeah, like my first startup failed 2010, so we are still like very early. Then we have new wave, and now, basically, I can give you examples of the fundraising now. The one guy who is announcing funding news on Monday is 23. He started company when he was 20. He did many mistakes, like amazingly, all the mistakes what you can imagine. But one moment I helped him to go to the Y Combinator, which I assume many people know in California. And he made a record in March because 225 investors wanted to invest to his company. 225. And he's announcing his A round now in Monday. He's 23. I'm helping one guy who is 22. He has lived all, like he's doing agriculture. Like there is also one company here who's doing also agriculture. And he made his first company when he was 17. His dad and also like grandfather has done far more life. And he was learning coding and helping dad basically run the agricultural farm, which is more likely about crops, you know. And now he has clients in 5 countries. He has like local farmers invested to his company €500,000. Farmers. Which means that in Estonia, pretty much even dog or cat believes that we can do startups. This is where we are now, like, and it all started with Skype. Most importantly, before that, what we had also Soviet Union. Like, you know, you was also gloriously free, but part of communist bloc. But one thing what this gave us was good education system. Because in Estonia, as well in Ukraine or Serbia, what we have common is that we have pretty good education, especially in mathematics, which can produce you some level of engineers, which is the first level for the startups. So, pretty much like, still a little bit, this is not like, okay. So the one thing which I have been learning and why I'm doing a new company is like, starting your company from Silicon Valley or from Tallinn or from Kiev or from Zagreb is totally different. In Silicon Valley, you can go to Stanford, and after, no, indeed, you can. Well, you need to be smart, indeed. But if you like finish Stanford, you can fundraise without even prototype. You can easily fundraise few million, and you don't have even like your prototype ready. Here, you don't have angels. You have very few founders, and there is very few people who can help you. In Silicon Valley, you can drive 100 miles, and you have 100,000 people who has built startups. It's totally different in Eastern Europe. We have some people in Tallinn, some in Riga, and, you know, just spread out, you know. So our aim with the lift is now that how we can connect real founders so we can help each other. Because Silicon Valley's secret is that people give back to community. They help other founders, they give them know-how, they invest, and so on. And this helps to build new wave of the founders, and so on. But if you have small community, it takes so much time. So our like crazy idea in Lyft is that we are building software which has just one core thing. We will handpick people who has skills global level in one level, and say go and tell, in this month I have these time slots where I can help other people. And I can talk about fundraising, I can go to about this and that. And they know that every person inside this software is handpicked and have other skills maybe. Because in Silicon Valley, if you want to meet someone, you need to have intro from some people who know someone, you know. And this is basically what we are building in Lyft, and this is real cases again, which we have already used. That key element is that how we can connect those small communities in much stronger way. That maybe we have few hardware companies or like 2 agriculture companies here, but we have some in Estonia, some in whatever in Belarus and so on. And few times we are competing. many times we are actually doing different product, which means that we can share those unique things, or we can share, this investor from Poland was totally, let me be now, sorry, but that was asshole, don't go to this person. So that's the core idea about the product what we're building. It's pretty much peer-to-peer mentoring for the founders. And I have been now in 66 countries, and I actually believe that this area here, and it's missing Vilnius, I don't know why our designer missed that part, is what is great here is that every of these cities or points has huge amount of engineers. It's amazingly tough to start company in Silicon Valley because you compete with Facebook, Google, Snapchat, and so on. But I actually believe that it's tiny bit, at least, easier to build your tech team in Zagreb or Krakow or Tallinn. Tallinn is even tougher now. And then go to the Berlin, London, because your market is maybe around Silicon Valley. So I have actually a huge theory which more and more people believe, that we will see new wave of successful startups from Central Eastern Europe. And the good news is that there are more and more investors who are ready to actually put money also here. In Estonia, in this year, I have seen Singapore biggest VC who has billions flying 8 people to Estonia. Next week we have London guys and so on. And they are discovering Eastern Europe. My aim in Lift 99 is to show them not only one city, but show the whole area. Because you know what is problem? For the guys from US to flying to Europe is already a big step. Oh my God, it's 20 hours. But if they are in Europe, they are ready to look not only one city, but maybe next and look a little bit more, So that's actually the aim what we do in Lift, that how we can help Eastern Europe to build more companies. And Lift itself is also have done investments, but more importantly, we have connected them with right investors in London, Berlin, and Silicon Valley. Because usually, if you build company, you need not only one round, but you need many rounds, and you need to have great know-how in a team. So I'm almost done now, because Marika also want to talk, but just last slide from me is about Estonia and why. You didn't say that you're opening in Kiev. Oh yeah, so the one thing is that actually, sorry, I really like Kiev because it has so huge amount of engineers, 40,000, 95% working in there, outsourcing. So they have some skills, but they don't have too thriving ecosystem. So we are opening our next learning center in Kiev. And one thing what we do absolutely different in Lift is that as we build communities, and even though sometimes Lift physical center is called co-working, it's not, it's co-growing. Because every person is similar way handpicked, and we looked do you have skills and most importantly drive to help others? If you help others, then you can go in and then the magic happens. In Thailand, we have one guy, I'm best in search engine optimization, I have tomorrow evening exactly time to do some short meetup about, or one guy, I'm from China, I can teach you Chinese, whatever. So this is the thing what happens now inside the community. But because we have big people who has this drive, who have skills, and there are other things which we look like the same thing. You can't be negative. In startup life, you would die immediately when you're negative. You need to be super positive because you are crazy anyway. So we are building co-growing center in Kiev as well, and we pretty much making experiments and seeing what we need to do to make impact to the local society. And we have some revenue sources, so actually it's not NGO, it's still startup, but we have a little bit more time to figure out the exact business model before we are just forcing some revenue out of that. So, and Marika will talk, and one thing exactly which I am a big fan of Estonia, I don't say that everybody should relocate to Estonia, but I can say that in many cases Estonia can help people to make into the next level. In Pipedrive, our main company is in US, like Delaware, as usual. But in Lift, we have now our legal entity in Estonia. And we had just Japanese guys invested to our Estonian company. And this is the new trend now, that basically because we have e-residency, which gives you access to our government services. You can start company in 4 minutes. You can basically, and anyway in EU, which is important, you can basically then hire some accountant which doing all the things digitally, and you can use this as a like entrance to the EU market. And in long run, you can also use this for the fundraising or whatever, because investors has looked, yes, it is easy to use and so on. But even most importantly, like I would say that I love travel because if I travel, I learn many things. In Estonia, it's just pretty crazy now how many people visiting us, doing meetups and so on. So you can like learn many things, not only in London, Berlin anymore, but also in Tallinn now. And indeed, Silicon Valley is still the biggest thing. But there are things which is great in Estonia, which is how you can be more successful in startups. We have, by the way, Estonia has now 4 unicorns, which is unimaginable. Like, we are leading the world by unicorn ratio per capita. We have 1.3 million people, but 4 unicorns. Sweden has 8, but they have like how many million people? 5? Yeah. And Sweden is like, oh my God. And this is, again, this is that if you go, like, if I lived in California, you can go to every Starbucks and say, oh, this guy is pitching, that guy is pitching, that guy is pitching. I can feel now things similar in Estonia now, in the small scale indeed. But what is good in Estonia is that, you know, this kind of bullshit level is still low. People are more like humble and, you know, shy, and they don't like make things like up, like happens made them Silicon Valley. And there, like, maybe the last thing which I actually like is that Estonia is one of the very rare countries when actually people trust government. Like, literally, like, you can pretty much like send messages to the people from government and they can reply you on Facebook. Like, Marika, you were sending messages to Taavi Rõivas, who was at that moment prime minister, and he replied to you. And he was not your friend at that moment. This is example. Like, prime minister basically replies your message in Facebook. And this prime minister, we have now a new one, and he's also like a great guy. But this actually, he was so much like helping startups and promoting them and so on, and he's still doing that. Now he's not anymore, that he's still in politics, but he's not prime minister, but he's still like helping them. So this is rare, by the way, and because we are totally not, I'm not political, I don't want to go to politics ever, but in Estonia, whatever party is leading, they are basically asking how we can help you. Not by money, because money is, I don't believe government can give grants, but they are like how we can make you more successful in the laws and other things, which is great. Okay, so I think I'm out of time. So if you want to connect me, you can try LinkedIn. This is my LinkedIn account. Try LinkedIn. Yeah, because I mean that usually if I understand what you want me, I connect. Sometimes just people have like empty profiles and like, who are you, why you want to speak with me and so on, so it's tougher for me. This is my Twitter account. Yeah, you can like send me emails. I'm pretty bad in emails, sadly. But sometimes my mailbox is in 0, so it gives hope. And yeah, like, as I said, like, I do investing now. I heavily like to help companies which has already some traction and some clients and so on. Because it's super hard to find out the product market fit. And it's really founders like Johnny do that. After that, I think that I can be helpful and help you in the next level. That's it, thank you. And if you have questions now, you can hit them now. Yeah.
How long will it stay in Belgrade?
I don't know yet. I think that I will. Tomorrow is Novi Sad, yeah? Tomorrow is Novi Sad, so I will stay today, tomorrow morning. Saturday, I think that I will be away already. Yeah, so.
Okay, do you have 2 minutes time after this event to pitch your idea?
Exactly. I would say grab him, but the second is that Novi Sad is 1 hour from here, driving.
Exactly.
He's going to be locked in the car. Use that moment, right?
Do you want me to be your driver there?
You see, be creative in using that time.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So, more questions? Yeah, please give the microphone. I know that the one guy, by the way, which was giving ride to Dave McClure, like got the investment 15 minutes, but I'm not so crazy. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Hello.
Thank you for speaking. How much often you do NPS analysis?
In PipeTrap?
Yeah.
Okay. Very often, actually, and this is a super good question. There are like two different NPS what we do. We do among clients, and I believe that the latest result is around 40. But we do also among our team members, and this is around 65. So I would say that NPS is important, but it depends how many people will reply. Because one moment, if you have too many clients, this data is not so like great. And I would say that in the early days, you should do everything to get your NPS even higher. Like, you know, in Lyft, we have NPS 70. This is what you should be. I think Tesla has 95. But yeah, like once per quarter is most likely enough. And also, in our case, we analyze even country by country. And we know Brazilians are always very happy, the highest NPS, and then some countries are lowest. Again, people in Brazil are more emotional, you know, and they are like, you know, like in Brazil, I'm rock star. They just go and like have a line of me like doing autogram, like signing the papers, signing documents, well, not documents, like photos. But it's sometimes like, nicely done. In Estonia, by the way, Estonians are like the best celebration. Like if Estonian guy would like true story, one guy won Olympic Games. Literally, he's the best in the world. And then reporters like, you know, jumping from the joy, you know, oh my God, Estonian guy best in the world, and asking, you know, so how you feel? Then this Estonian guy, not bad. but it's opposite in Brazil, you know. They are like, you know, different.
Okay, so you do NPS also to your employees?
Yes.
Yes.
Very
okay,
important because you need to know and do anonymously to how your people feel and so on. Okay. So I can take.
I have one more question about Brazil. It's not a problem to ask you. I work for one software, and we have pretty much problems with Brazil as a country to acquire new users. Mm-hmm. Can you say me more about Brazil? I can understand that your customer share in Brazil is very high.
Yeah.
So which network works for Brazil?
You know, the one thing which is different in Brazil, Brazilian people really love like human connection. They are like demanding, like they want to call you, they want to speak with you and so on. They really love this human touch. They, like we have support and they love to have long talks, isn't it? Yeah. And because Marika worked before in Python, that's why I'm looking for her. And they also basically like, they always look at a number where I can call. And this should be Brazilian number, you know. So you should have Dutch. And indeed, your language have to be translated by local people. Like, they want to feel that this is Brazilian at least, that you understand. Because you know that Portuguese in Europe and in Brazil is different. So we have actually two Portuguese versions, actually. So, and you know, it's always great to go and visit Sao Paulo, the craziest city, you know, Rio de Janeiro. Remove your watch, by the way, from my hand, because otherwise you will be immediately robbed, you know. Mobile phone, credit cards in the hotel, first rule. So it's not a question, would you be robbed? It's when you will be robbed. Literally. But yeah, like human touch is the first thing, you know. I can't tell you like what networks work because it's so heavily depending on your product and so on. But best thing to understand is that spend time there, looking conferences and looking around and finding some people who are loving you and trying to motivate them to speak more and so on. That was our way. Like making some people like extremely happy. Like out of like 10 scale of 20. So there is one, by the way, there is one podcast which I would heavily like recommend, which is I'm a big podcast lover because I have a dog. I need to walk this dog. So he's doing stuff, I'm doing stuff. So the blog is How I Built This.
How I Built This.
Yes. And there is one talk which is so crude, like Airbnb founder is telling like, they was designing like service like what could be basically like Airbnb service when you give 20 out of 10. So basically fantasize like you would fly to US like a rock star. You have like shouting audience in the airport and you know, like. But it's going crazy in the good way. And you try to like think how you can do unexpected thing for your client. So they would say, oh my God, this company did like so many great things, I'm happy. Because you need to have like people telling about your good stories. Indeed, your core product need to be good. I assume this is already fine. I hope so. But then you can do other things, okay? Do we have more questions? And then Marika wanted to talk. Yes? How did I find a guy from sales? Was it like that?
Yeah, that guy that improved your sales.
Okay, so there are like two things. First, I would start, how did I found my co-founders? Because my co-founders are salespeople. So it's easy. In my first company, they helped us to build our sales system. And they have been running 15 years sales consultant company. So they did know everything about the sale. They started in US, selling books door to door in Southwestern. And Estonia, by the way, there is one company, and there are many, but one of them is Southwestern, where students are spending 3 months in US from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. and just knocking the doors and hello with the books, you know. This is the toughest job in the world because you would see police, you would see guns on your face and so on. But if you go through that, you most likely know something about the sales. And my co-founders did it, and they basically have this network, and this pretty much like helped us to also like hire this guy as a product manager. Okay? Okay, I think that you can grab me later. I'm still around because Marika Marika wanna speak. And yeah, like as I said, I will be tomorrow in this other city. If you want to grab me there, you can also follow us.
Yes, so actually Ragnar did a pretty good introduction already to Estonian startup scene. So maybe I'll start off with saying that a bit about my background is where I'm coming from and what I'm helping on the governmental side now to do. So first of all, like Ragnar said, well, actually I have a long history with Ragnar already. He's employed me for 3 times. First, I started off in Garage 48, which is a non-profit organization organizing hackathons in the whole Central Eastern European region. So out of those 70, what he's been on stage and organizing, most of them, the backbone was me organizing those events and getting the people to there. And today I still go to the hackathons. I love them. I go as either mentoring, also moderating, so depending of the country, of course, my personal interests there as well. And then 3 years I was part of Pipedrive because I got to know the startup community. I started loving the people, the vibe, and then I wanted to specialize in something. And my skills are mostly sales, so logically I looked to Pipedrive. And I started off actually as customer success manager there, the first. And there were some of the questions before the event about customer success and when is the good time to actually hire one. And I personally think when I started the customer success position in Pipedrive, we didn't know what it means. Like that was in 2000, Ragnar, you remember? When did I get hired to Pipedrive? 12 maybe, yeah. 13. It was a very, very new term because usually what it means and what I called myself to the customers we talked to, I just said I'm a proactive support. Because what I tried to do is to understand what the customer was needing, how was he loving the product, and then I was consulting them how to do better sales in whatever field they're working in, and using Pipedrive, of course, for that. So it was kind of a combination of proactive support together with upselling, right? And today, customer success is what it means, the same thing. You need to upsell, and at the same time, you need to be on the customer support side as well. And then, as Ragnar mentioned about Pipedrive, which is a very peculiar case, is that it's a sales management tool, but for 5 first years, they didn't have any sales. They didn't do proactive sales at all. It was all about marketing and then their referrals, right? The good customers were referring, and then once we figured out that there's time to start doing also sales, was the time when actually the Pipedrive support was spending more time on selling than doing support. So the inbound support came in as a term, and I helped to build a team in there for the last year. And from there, quite a lot of people ask me why I left, because Pipedrive is a successful company, right? I'm one of those ambassadors who were off-boarded very well. I wanted to take some time off, maybe build something my own, have a startup, and you see where I am now, still not with a startup. But I got to spend 1 month just, you know, traveling the world, and then Ragnar hired me again to be a salesperson in a very early startup in Clanbeat. It was actually a 101 scheduling tool. It still exists, but they are pivoting. So it's time for change for Clanbeat. I hope that there's going to be something exciting coming out of it. But what was the most interesting experience for me is that I actually went through the 500 Startups acceleration program. And I got really good practice. We had the San Francisco office of 500 Startups together with 40 different teams, and then really good mentors. Like, for me personally, again, I want to develop my sales skills, so I spent time, I chose the mentor. There is like a peer-to-peer mentoring. You get your individual mentor who helps you on a weekly basis, and I chose a Groupon background person who is really on outbound sales. So basically, if you have any questions, I can help you with this. And now my story, to cut it short, my background for the past half a year, I've been helping the government. So StartUp Estonia is a governmental initiative focusing on boosting Estonian startup ecosystem and helping new success stories coming out of there. And just to give you briefly, maybe just a nutshell of what Ragnar was telling here for an hour, kind of out of his experience, is what we bring out here as well, is that there's an advantage of starting things from a small country. And that's just an example of Estonia, but I think Serbia is the same case, right? Like, we had the privilege of having Skype, which then boosted the startup community. And this gave us belief that, yes, you can start from a small country which no one knows about. Like, yes, it's sometimes brought in movies. There are US movies where they say, I'm from Estonia, and then no one knows where it is, right? And now in the startup community, it's changing. You go around the world, you talk in the tech sector, in the conferences with investors, everyone knows what Estonia is. Maybe they don't know where it is, but they know what it is. And this is cool. This is something which gives us even more belief that, yes, it is possible to rocket from a small country with 1.3 million. And it's just a very bold commercial what TransferWise is using. TransferWise, most of you know what it is, yeah? It's peer-to-peer money transfers. Yep, just to give you some of the numbers, what Startup Estonia does on a regular basis, we give overviews to the government about our startup sector to show the importance, but also to have the analysis of how it is changing over time. And currently, we can say that we have around 500 plus 550. It's changing all the time. I say between 500, 600 startups. Why I'm saying that it's changing all the time is because, as you know, startups die out, they pop up. You know, it's difficult to count them. And then today we give jobs to 4,300 people in the startup sector. Out of those, around 75% are in Estonia. The other part is in the other offices of those Estonian startups. So we do count them in, because we look at the startup sector on a more international level. And then employment tax is, of course, interesting, very practical, useful information for the economy. So we bring in 35 million. It's growing as the sector is growing, of course. And then Ragnar already pointed that out, that for the past 10 years, we have seen the hockey stick of the investments in Estonia, as the startups usually show the hockey stick level, right? And this year is gonna be already more successful than last year. I was just reading the post of one of the kind of those spokespeople from Estonian startup scene, and he was predicting that it could be, if last year was 270 million in investments, then this year the predictions show 350 million. So let's see. We're very curious. But just a bit of maybe overview of what we do and why we are here. Why we brought Ragnar with us, why we, with my colleagues, want to be more present in Belgrade, is that Startup Estonia, we put ourselves kind of the messenger between the government and our Estonian startup sector. And as, again, Ragnar pointed out, that talent is one of those things which is really kind of one of the great challenges all over the world, but even more in Estonia, where we have a big growing startup sector, but then only 1.3 million of people. So we are always looking for talent who would want to be interested in either bringing some of their parts of their business to Estonia or coming and having just experience in working for a startup or just having exchanges, right? Using either our acceleration or incubation programs. But so we put focuses on 4 main things. How to have better and friendlier regulations towards the startup community, and that is working very closely with the startup community in bringing those challenges from them to the government and hopefully coming back with new regulations. Startup visa scheme is a very practical way of how one of the challenges was tackled. Marilyn will go deeper into that. But then on the other side, we do the soft support for the ecosystem as well. Today we have around 50 to 60 different organizations providing services or supporting somehow the community. So these all players want help as well. And these are mostly for the soft side, piloting new programs, helping them to do the surveys of actually what programs would be needed, then promoting the biggest events what we have, the flagship events. Maybe you've heard Latitude 59 or Robotex. These are our tech scene conferences and festivals. And then of course seeing that we would have a growing number of startups. We've put ourselves quite a bold target, 1,000 startups by 2020. Today we have 550, 1.5 years to go. I'm hoping to get to that number. And yes, a bit of a promotion as well. What do we have in the community? And this is, as I said, we have 50 to 60 different organizations, but maybe something which to bring out or what could be interesting is that already Ragnar was mentioning Lift 99, which is a co-growing space and a platform for founders. That hub is waiting for talent as well, of course. And then Storytech, the S there is a great incubation intensive program for media tech. And they take media tech on a larger view in the sense that it's also entertainment, gaming, VR, AR, also data, but also typical media, what you would see, how to innovate the media sector, which is very large, right? And then Technopol, our science park, they are helping in different focuses, but they are bringing out their interest mainly towards the green tech, clean tech, but also medical services, med tech. So if you're interested in that. And then the last one, what I like to always bring out is that a small country can also be a space country. So we are in close collaboration with European Space Agency, and that incubator is located in Estonia. And that gives you good access to the European Space Agency with the contacts, mentors, but of course the larger network. And again, they say that space is new space. So it's a broader sense, starting from AI, data, but also robotics, hardware, everything related what could bring new values to space. And then, before I give maybe the the people who are interested in startup visa as well, I'll give a microphone to Marilyn. Then some of the promotion when to visit Estonia and when it is most vibrant, when you could see the community and the region coming together. So we just had our yearly event in May, Latitude 59. It's very good for investor startup matchmaking. A lot of Nordic but also Asian investors fly together to see what's happening in the region. Next year dates are already there. Then the second one for the more early stage and seed startup projects, then Startup Day Festival in southern of Estonia. Like you have here Novi Sad, we have Tartu, a university city with a great talent. Also Science Park, they're organizing Startup Day Festival, and it's more like for really beginners, ideation, and maybe less for investor matchmaking. And then the third one, Robotex, I can proudly say that it's the biggest robotics festival now even in the world. They bring together 27,000 people throughout the weekend. It's robotics throughout all ages, starting from kindergarten. Children are playing and competing in the competitions, and ending with Deep Tech Conference. And again, it's a great matchmaking point for investors, mentors, startups. Any questions? I'm so boring, you see? No questions to me. Everyone wants to ask questions from Ragnar. So I'll give a microphone to Marilyn.
So hello from my side as well. Thank you, Ragnar. Thank you, Marika. So yes, I am Marilyn, and I work on the Estonian startup visa now for a little over 4 months already. Before going into Startup Estonia, I actually also was hired by Ragnar. I was...
So actually, I don't hire all Estonia like nation, so don't get it wrong. It's just basically they also invited me because of that.
So yeah, I also have a background in organizing hackathons, mainly in Ukraine, Moldova, Belarus, and Georgia. Also in Estonia. So I worked for 1.5 years in Garage 48. And this is where basically I got really interested in the Estonian startup scene. So here I am now. Let's just go straight into the topic. So Estonian startup visa. It was launched last year in January, but the process to get it going and to implement it started, I think, in 2015, when the tech scene and the startup scene was raising awareness about the talent pool and the shortness of talent in Estonia. And they needed a way to bring in people, talented people from outside of EU. So the startup visa is this one way to help this scene. Okay. Also, how many of you know about e-residency? Okay. Or knew before that? Okay. So what I've discovered is that a lot of the people, anywhere I go, they start mixing these two things, the startup visa and e-residency, or at least connecting them. So I just wanted to bring out the main differences between the two of them. The startup visa is a physical access to the Estonian ecosystem. It is a visa or a temporary residence permit for a founder of a startup outside of the EU or an employee who wants to work at an Estonian startup. E-residency is virtual access to the Estonian ecosystem. Startup visa, as I said, is a permit to enter or travel the country. E-residency is not a permit to travel the country. And the main goals are also a little bit different. The main goal for the startup visa or the temporary residence permit is the relocation. The main goal for the e-residency is providing the ease of doing business remotely by using the Estonian e-services. So I hope that helped clear that one out. But Of course, when you're interested in this kind of program or this kind of visa, you're always thinking about how could I be eligible. So I'm glad to say that comparing this startup visa program with all of the other startup visa programs in the world, this is the most liberal, so to say. The only thing you need is basically to be a startup and to be approved as a startup by the startup committee. You also need a bit of funds to survive in Estonia for the time that you apply for the visa. But as you can see, it's not that high of an amount. But how we see a startup, we haven't regulated or we haven't restricted the startup definition. So we say it has to be, the business idea has to be innovative and scalable, and it has to have global growth potential. And the startup committee is it's a committee made out of 7 organizations from the Estonian startup scene. It may sound easy, but these people are startup experts and they know their stuff, so you have to provide a very good application for them to be eligible. So how to apply? I'll just go really quickly into it. You fill out the application that I told you about. It is a very thorough application, but considering that this is the only step between you and the approval, it's not that big of a deal, especially if you are a good startup. The startup committee makes their decisions in 10 working days, and if you get an acceptance letter, you can go to the Estonian embassy or the police and border guard board in Estonia. And it's not really expensive. For the visa, the service fee is 80 euros, and for the temporary residence permit, basically depending on if you're applying in or outside of Estonia, it's 160, 180 euros. So these are the only fees that you have to pay. Yes, so something that I'm really proud about is the numbers. So these are the latest. I just checked them a couple of hours ago. As I said, it was launched in 2017 in January. And I've heard that as Estonians are really humble, they thought that they would reach to 50 applications within 1 year. So they did 6 times that. In the end of December, they had 300 applications. And now, 1.5 years later, we have 565 companies that have applied for the startup status. And as you can see, most interest comes from Russia, Turkey, India, and Ukraine. And the most successful one, meaning that the applications who are most likely to be accepted as a startup are Russia, Turkey, Ukraine, and Belarus. And now to some personal feedback from the startup founders that we've had. I like the Russian straightness about their feedback. They don't talk a lot about the soft things, but they are straight to the point. The startup visa gave them access to the European market. Yes, that team is also working today in the Technopol, the technopark that Marika mentioned, and there are at least, I think there are altogether 4 teams that are working in Technopol that have come to Estonia from Russia with the startup visa. Oh, okay, they are in the space program. But this is Gwun. He comes from Hong Kong. He came to Estonia to work at an Estonian startup called Jabatical. And then he liked Estonia so much that he wanted to stay here and build his own startup in Estonia. And what he really likes is Tallinn and the atmosphere here. And what he's mentioned about Estonia is that it is so good to work here during winter because it's so cold and there's nothing more to do. Although there is, you can always ski. And Avery, who is this 20-year-old guy from Canada, came to school in Estonia and then discovered the Estonian startup scene and just started also working on his startup. And now he is turning into this Estonian startup superstar who has impressed Ragnar so much that they had a fireside chat with him. And so it's just, I think it shows how easy it is in Estonia to be really close to the big fish, basically. You can be a 20-year-old guy coming from Canada, and you can attract some pretty decent talent. So yeah, this is it from me. Follow us on these pages if you want to know more about the Estonian startup ecosystem, more about where we travel and where you can meet us. And I hope you have some questions for us now. Thank you. Oh.
Hi, my name is Zoran, and I have just one question for you, and that is how original has to be the idea, the project idea, to get startup visa?
I can give you a secret. Actually, I'm part of this voluntarily commission, by the way. Yeah, so this voluntarily, I just like log in. I can give you like my view. I spend 1 minute for the application, max 1 minute. So I assume that you have some traction already, some proof that because usually why people get rejected is that they have maybe only PowerPoint and so on. So like CRM was never original idea. You don't need to have original idea. You need to have proofs that you're really serious about that. Basically, I'm looking at would I invest this company after a few years? Is this potential? And this is how like I assume many people in the commission looking, because there are similar people like me doing voluntarily. We don't get any paid. I just get so many emails from this lady now. Like, oh, we have again like 10, 15. But as I spend like literally 1 minute per application, so which means that I look like your LinkedIn profile, I look the application itself, I look to your like page, if this is up, and so just click, open those things, and then we just decide by that, because we never know. Twitter like was 6 years, no one didn't understand, not 6 years, what they're doing, you know. But we look how much like risk taker you are and so on. It's not about idea originality. And I would say that please, those white papers about ICO, like too many of them, like, you know. ICO is cool, but around 90% is still like this spam level, you know, or whatever.
I just wanted to say that you've heard about Uber, right? So we told you about Taxify, who is another unicorn from Estonia, and it's basically the same service. So I don't think originality is always the best way. Just as Ragnar said, you have to show proof that it's working somehow, and you're really you're really in this. So yeah.
Okay, thanks.
I think there was one hand there.
Did you have applications from Serbia up to now?
I think there are a couple, but I remember that there are applications from the region. There have been some from Macedonia, and also I think some are relocating from Croatia.
So when you get a startup visa, do you have any support system that welcomes them after that?
Thank you so much for asking. During the visa and temporary residence permit process, we as an institutions can't offer that much help. But the moment that they start relocating, we try to catch them, and we have 2 ways of doing that. One of them is a Slack group for foreign founders that relocate to Estonia, and the second is a regular meetup series in Estonia where the founders who have made their way to Estonia can meet together, meet with us, let us know what their issues are, and talk amongst each others. And we also use it to introduce to them the Estonian ecosystem players, and just get them, get all of the parts really close together, so that they would feel welcome and they would feel that we listen to them.
Yes. Can we share the number of e-residency applications coming from Serbia?
What was the number, Marika?
146. We have currently 146 e-residents from Serbia. which doesn't mean that all of them already have a company. It means that usually an e-resident applies, becomes an e-resident, and then at some point they also decide that they would want to open a legal company in Estonia. I would say, well, altogether we have around 40,000 e-residents in the world, so it's not a high number, but at the same time it's interesting that it's a growing interest from this region.
40,000 new residents who have set up 4,000 new companies in Estonia. So 10% is the rate. Maybe it sounds small, but 4,000 new companies in Estonia is a big thing.
I also wanted to say that I think there are many people from Serbia who have used the startup visa to go and work in Estonian startups.
And the last question, I promise. You're not in European Union, right? You are. Oh, okay. So stupid question then.
No stupid questions.
Yeah, there are no stupid questions. No, but you can ask other questions as well. It's not like Marilyn is there and the only questions. Maybe you had a question for Ragnar about Estonian nature, about the food, whatever. Yeah, we are first time here in Serbia, so it's logical that you also don't know many things about Estonia.
You've been here for 2.5 days. Can you share some of the impressions on local startup ecosystems since you met? You've been like touring the hubs and talked to guys from Digital Serbia Initiative and representatives from the government. What are your first impressions?
I'll start. Yeah. What I personally think is that there is the openness is really here. Like you have a very sincere conversation, and that with strangers. We came here not knowing anyone, and we were put together. The ICT Hub has made like a 4-day full program for us just to meet all the community players out here. And this is great. It shows the sincereness, and I think this is something which actually joins us because Estonia is the same. Like Ragnar said, Ragnar likes to use like some F words and things, but we are no bullshit country in the sense, right? Like if you are coming in the community, then you are welcomed and you meet the people. And I feel the same is happening here. But the second, what is again just observation, is that you have such vibrant startup community in the sense that the hubs we've been meeting are with different focuses, their verticals, their mission, and the vision on the community is so different. And this is very cool because it means that you are pushing all the ways and the community is growing to all aspects. And once you kind of have a systematic approach from the ups, like the level up kind of, then it would just boom. This is kind of what I've seen, but it's only 2 days.
I actually got one question through LinkedIn, so I will reply here. So there was a question about Estonian residency ICO project. So Estcoin, yeah. So as far as I know, the plans are still on the progress. I believe that there will be some news in next coming months, but there are indeed some legal questions. But the plan is real. Like basically, the question is what, as far as I know, because we will have actually a meeting with e-residency team on Monday, is that as we have now exactly this big number of e-residents, then e-residency team is really thinking how to build community around that, so that people who have residents can share the things, you know. So this is actually what the now really Estonian residency team is working to open in the next coming months some solutions that exactly people from Serbia, from everywhere can share their own like experience and real cases, how they have used and what the things. So, and ICO, let's see, Estonia had last year 40 ICOs. It's still pretty unregulated. We will try to be much more conservative in that level, but not like in US. So this is in the progress, and I hope that we will have a meeting about that in August or September with Prime Minister. So, but the actual plan is real. It's not like fake news, but it just takes time to build use case. And the key element is that we have the community, and this is definitely the token we should use inside the community and other things. But the actual plan is still real.
So yeah, I don't want to repeat Marika because she has said most of what I think already as well. But what I want to repeat is what I saw in the co-working hubs. That each of the co-working hubs have their own very distinct face. They're all very vibrant, and they were really inspiring to me. So I think this was something that I didn't anticipate while coming here. I couldn't anticipate anything. I do have friends from Serbia that work in Estonian companies, and they're all really smart and also like very distinct and very vibrant people. So I knew that it has to be like this in the startup community as well. So I'm glad that this got assured.
I want to invite everyone to stick around, have some drinks, and talk some more to our guests. Thank you for coming. Bye.